Hello good people, welcome to my channel. Please, if it's your first time to meet my videos, please don't forget to subscribe. Right, we are given a question on probability. We are given a question on probability. So first thing is to know how basically you define probability. Probability is defined as a likelihood that an event might occur. Probability is the likelihood that um, a probability is just a likelihood that an event might occur or not occur. Right. So two learners P and Q write a math test. Two learners P and Q. Two learners named P and Q write a test, a math test. The probability that P pass the test is 3/5. So once these two learners P and Q manage to write a math test, the probability that P passes the test is 3/5. Well, the probability that Q pass the test is 2/3. Then we are given this incomplete tree diagram. We are given this incomplete tree diagram. We are given 3/5 here. Pass fail. 1/3. Pass fail. Pass fail. 2/3. Then the first pick is for P learner. Then the second one is for Q. So for P is here. Then for Q is here. All right. So from there, what you have to do here is so since the first pick is for P, the first pick is for P, then the second one is for Q. All right. By the way, we want to complete this given incomplete tree diagram. All right. So for us to complete this, first of all, I said before, probability is the likelihood that an event might occur or not occur. Right. So meaning to say, probability is equals to the probability is equals to required outcome over possible outcome. Required outcome over possible outcome. So we say probability is equal to required outcome over possible outcome. Then just remember, if you add, consider the probability, the sum of the probability, whether the probability of P passing and the probability of P failing, we must get 1 whole. So the probability of P passing and the probability of P failing, we get 1 whole. Same applies to Q. The probability of Q passing and the probability of Q failing, if you sum them, we get 1 whole. So we are saying the probability of P passing plus failing, we should get a 1 whole. I mean P passing plus failing, we should get 1 whole. Same applies to Q. The probability of passing under Q and also for failing, we should get 1 whole. Right. So meaning to say, if we sum 3/5 plus this unknown value, we must get 1 whole. Passing plus failing, we must get 1 whole. So in other words, you are saying 1 whole minus 3/5. Here we get 2/5. So that if you sum this, we get 1 whole. Then under Q, if you sum this plus this, you get 1 whole. 1 whole minus 1/3, we get 2/3. Meaning to say 1 whole simply means 3/3 minus 1/3, we get 2/3. Then for this, we are given 2/3 here. 1 whole minus 2/3, or 3/3 minus 2/3, we get 1/3. This is how to complete this tree diagram. All right, so let's now come up with the possible outcomes of these probabilities. Possible outcomes. Right, so PP, probability of pass, P pass, Q pass. The probability that P passes and also Q passes. Here is we say probability of Q pass, P pass, PP. The probability of P pass or Q fail, or P pass or Q failing, which is PF, pass and fail. Right? Then here we have fail and pass. fail and pass. Then the last one we have fail, fail. We have F, F. These are the possible outcomes of this probability. These are the possible outcomes. P, P, pass, 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 fail, fail, pass, fail, fail. All right. By the way, for us to complete this, you have to just put these values at some point. For these possible outcomes of the probabilities, you won't be awarded any mark for that. The marks will be only awarded for these given values. Right. Moving on, part B. These possible outcomes will assist us to consider the next part. Find the probability that only one of the learner passes the test. Find the probability that only one learner passes the test. Right. So when considering probability, I said before, probability is equal to required outcome over possible outcome. Meaning to say, probability is defined as a likelihood that an event might occur or not occur. So, meaning to say, under probability, there is an event that P will pass or P will fail. Q will pass or Q will fail. So that's probability. Required outcome over possible outcome. So we also have to be familiar with these key terms when considering probability. At some point, if you are given that both of the learners pass the test, for both, you multiply the possible outcomes. For both, we multiply. For both, we multiply the possible outcomes. Then, if you are given and both they are related, you also multiply. Then, if we are given either or, if you are given either or, for either or, here we add. If it's either or, we add, meaning to say one of them passes the test. One of them passes the test, meaning to say either P or Q passes the test. One of them passes the test. Then for neither no, probability is 0. Neither no, probability is 0 unless it is given like this. For this we are given. It's given. Why given? We have the probability of P passing and also probability of failing. So neither no, under P failing we have it, we are given. That's given. Then for Q failing, we are also given. That's neither no. For neither no, let's assume neither P nor Q passes the test. We just add their probabilities of failing. Fail. We add their probability of failing if neither no, just because we are given. Right. Considering this part B, find the probability that only one of the learners passes the test. One of them passes, meaning to say, according to this, one of them passes the test, meaning to say either Peter or Q passes the test. Either Peter or Q passes the test. So we are going to take this. Either one of them is going to pass. So back to our tree diagram, let's check where do you find only one single P of passing. We only one single P of passing. Then the other is a failure. Pass and fail. One pass and fail. Only one will pass and fail. Where do you get pass and fail? Considering pass and fail, we get pass and fail. Pass, or we don't take this one because both of them pass. We only need one of them passes the test. One of them pass the test here, and also one of them pass the test here. Fail. We neglect this. So we neglect this and we neglect this. We take pass, fail, pass. So we are now saying for part B, probability of one of them pass the test. One of them passes. One of them passes is equal to the product of the probability of passing times failing, PF, passing times failing, plus the probability of passing times failing, failing and passing. This becomes PF for pass is 3 over 5. We say 3 over 5 multiplied by, for failing is 1 over 3 plus considering the probability of failing passing, failing is 2 over 5. 2 over 5 plus is 2 over 5 multiplied by the probability of passing, which is 2 over 3. Right, this becomes now 3 times 1, we get 3. 5 times 3, we get 15. All right, now we get 3 over 15 plus, considering the probability, 2 times 2, we get 4, over 5 times 3, we get 15. This now becomes, we are going to add 3 over 15 plus 4 over 15. They have the same denominator. They have same denominator. So we just maintain the given denominator, which is 15. We add the numerators 3 plus 4. This becomes 3 plus 4. We get 7 over 15. This is the probability of one of them passes the test. So if this platform is assisting you to understand some basics on probability, please take your time. Don't forget to subscribe. Also, don't forget to like, comment, and share, so that once a new video is uploaded, you receive a notification and you watch that video in preparation for your June or November exams. So this question was just derived from June 2024 paper 1. So these are the solutions we are supposed to obtain. So for us to be familiar with probability, be familiar with this concept. How best can you define probability? How best can you find probability, required outcome or possible outcome? The sum of the probability is equal to 1. Be familiar with that one. Then be familiar with the basics of this. These are terms that are commonly used when dealing with probability. Then also be familiar with how best can you complete a T diagram. So meaning to say, this T diagram is not continuous. Why? Because we have two parts for P and also Q. These two values are not related, so it's not continuous. It's discontinuous probability. Right, then, but these two values are always related, just because the sum of those two values, we only get 1. The sum of probability of failing and passing, we get a 1. So thank you so much. Just enjoy this lesson.